The good news is the Chinese economy is doing better than 1 year ago, okay? Why is that? Okay, at the current rate, the nominal GDP growth rate is at the pace around 4.3%. Last year, it was around 4.1 to 4.2%, okay? Notice this is a nominal GDP, that is today's economic volume of activity at the current price in comparison with that of last year's economic activity at the last year's price. Okay, this is different from the official number, which is based on so-called constant price, because the Chinese economy is suffering from a problem of price decreasing. Okay, that is the nominal GDP growth rate is below the real GDP growth rate, but nominal GDP growth is more important for people working in the Chinese economy. Okay, so what's the reason for the economy still behind its potential GDP growth rate? Okay, the potential should be around 5%. Okay, and the main reason is domestic. It's not international. It's not a trade war. It's not a tariff war. Okay, because the tariff war only accounts for at most 17% of GDP, which is the total export as share of GDP. Actually, of which around 4.7% of Chinese GDP is meant for export to the US economy. Okay, so the main issue is domestic. What is the main issue? What's the number one issue domestically? Okay, number one issue domestically is the debt overhang of local government debt. Local government debt accounts for 100% of GDP. Okay, and every year the local governments have to refinance its debt. And when they refinance this debt, they have to borrow from various sources, usually at the rate of 5%, okay, which is a huge burden. Okay, local governments are not able to finance and pay back their local government debt. So the solution is super simple. Because I've been saying this for many years, or at least 2-3 years. Okay, that is, central government should issue a lot of central government debt. In the U.S., it's called the Treasury bond. How much? Should be around 40 or 50% of GDP. Okay, the current central government debt is only 26% of GDP. Okay, there's a huge room to increase that. By issuing central government debt, the central government can swap out local government debt. This way, not only the payment of interest will come down from 5% of total local debt, which is 100% of GDP, to something around 2% of the borrowing rate. Okay, 3% saving in interest payments. Also, more important, when local governments are relieved from this burden of local debt, let's say 50% of the burden is gone, local governments are able to do their own business. What is that? Welfare provision. Okay, providing kindergarten services, providing basic housing, providing local schools for migrant workers. So with all these welfare expenditures being in place, the Chinese economy will be able to come back to its normal pace of growth, which is again 5%, around 5% in real GDP terms, plus normally 2% of GDP. The nominal GDP rate growth rate should be 7% as opposed to currently 4.3, 4.5%. Okay, there's at least a huge 2.5% increase in the intensity of economic growth in the Chinese economy. So let's work on this. I'm optimistic because the policies are moving in this direction, although it's not as fast as we have been hoping. But eventually, policymakers will realize this. This is the easy and only way to mitigate the current problems of the Chinese economy. The economy is still strong. The economy still has potential to grow, but we have to solve the issue of local government debt overhang. Okay, and I think we see light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, any questions, please leave them at the bottom of this video. Thank you.